You might have seen that it said my talk title was An Untitled Talk, and you might have thought, oh, Sue didn't pick a title yet. That is not true. That is the title of the talk. It's interesting that today's daily word was clarity, because I've had anything but clarity these last couple weeks. It's been quite a challenge.
Your earring is bouncing up against the mic.
My earring is bouncing on the mic. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
Hopefully that's better. So, where was I? An untitled talk. Yeah, there are times when we need to just step back. Be in that place of unknowing and let it be okay. Allow some space. Allow the clarity to come when it will come, when we are ready, when we are willing to listen to whatever Spirit's going to tell us. Allow Spirit to fill that space. These last couple weeks have been really challenging for our community. We've had several cases of COVID come through during our rehearsal for Christmas Eve. We had to shut down our in-person services. Christmas Eve we did just virtually, not what any of us wanted. But we had to make adjustments to keep the majority of you healthy and safe. Then, of course, Thursday's devastating news with the fires that roared through our community. So many homes lost. It's heartbreaking. Nearly 1,000 homes burnt down. A lot of people displaced. And our hearts grieve with you, mourn with you. It's been miraculous that there's been very little loss of life or injury. That people followed that guidance, those instructions, and left their homes in time. The speed at which the fires went through Boulder County, Louisville, and Superior in particular was incredible. And yet, most people are safe, if maybe not with a home, but they're safe. We've been working with this Road to Bethlehem series, and it's so interesting to me when the synchronicity of the stories are just in line with what's going on in our world. So today's story from the series is, remember we left you on Christmas Eve with the wise men appearing in Bethlehem to honor the baby Jesus and bringing him gifts. And Scott talked about how they were guided to return a different way, not to return to Herod as he had instructed, but to follow a different path. As so often we are guided to follow a different path once we share our gifts. It changes us when we share from the heart. And in our wisdom, we realize this. And so that's where we had left you on Christmas Eve, and not long after that, the story continues with Joseph being given a vision in a dream that it says the angel Gabriel came to him. Gabriel was very busy during these last few months during this time, sending messages, not only to the wise men, but to Joseph, to Zechariah. And of course, angels are those messengers from spirit, not outside of ourselves, but within. Those messages that come to us, that guidance that come to us, that we recognize as spirit speaking. And so Gabriel comes to Joseph in his dreams, which he often does, which is often the case for Joseph. In a dream, he has these visions. And the angel Gabriel says to take Jesus and Mary and flee to Egypt. That Herod is on the warpath. Herod is wanting to kill all the newborn babies, all the baby boys. And so go to Egypt. Take them in, and he does immediately, puts Mary and Jesus on the donkey, and they go to Egypt to safety. And Herod, in his rage, doesn't know where exactly this baby is, where this Jesus, but he recognizes that Jesus is a threat to him, to his power, to his reign. And so he orders all baby boys 2 years or younger, because he doesn't know exactly when Jesus was born either. He orders all baby boys 2 years or younger to be slaughtered. Now, it's interesting that there's no record of this. Bible scholars say there's no record of this happening. We don't know if it happened or not. It's something Herod could have done. He was that type of personality in his time. Violent, controlling, angry. But we want to look at these stories. There's another scholar who says that these things were put into the scriptures so that we would look for the deeper meaning. That it's so horrific that something like that would happen that we can't even wrap our minds around it. And so we want to look for the deeper meaning. What happens when we're threatened with physical harm is we want to flee. We want to go to safety. And Joseph is guided to bring his family to safety, just as so many who were in the line of the fires on Thursday were guided to go to safety, to flee your home. And the family went to, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph went to Egypt. Egypt representing the subconscious, or representing sense consciousness, where our patterns are. Metaphysically, we could interpret this, you can interpret this as getting back to basics. When we are threatened with bodily harm, we want to get back to basics. We go into protection mode. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that's what Joseph did with his family. Get to a place of safety. Go to Egypt. Because Herod, in his rage, and our egos, when they feel threatened, will want to destroy any new ideas, any new thoughts, anything that might take us out of our comfortable ways. So Herod maybe slaughtered all these babies, maybe didn't, we don't know. But it represents that part of ourselves that is capable of that. We don't want to let Herod be king. We want to dethrone Herod. And Herod doesn't live much longer after this. He's done his worst. But he could never kill that baby Jesus. Just as a birth of a new awareness, that the awareness of our Christ nature can never be really destroyed. Once it's really born and protected and fed, that part of us becomes part of us, where it's safe. It's who we are. And so in this part of A Trip to Bethlehem, Hypatia talks about the power of zeal. Seems like a strange power to talk about during this time. But zeal is our ability to have an energy around something, to get enthusiastic. It motivates us. When we get spiritual guidance, we are motivated. When we know it's guidance, when we know it without question, as Joseph knew it, we have a new energy about us. We know what to do. We know how to be. And that gives us some enthusiasm to take right action. On December 26th, the Archbishop Desmond Tutu passed away. He was an amazing, amazing human being who was an activist and fought against apartheid in South Africa. He always looked for good, and he stayed positive. He's known for that, for his humor, for his positivity, for his unwillingness to give up. We lost a great human being that day, but his contributions to society will never die. He signed our peace quilt. I don't know if you know that we have a peace quilt. There's a picture of it coming up on your screens. The peace quilt that the women of Columbine made, and I think it was finished in 2001. And there's 50 signatures on there of people who are peacemakers, and Desmond Tutu was one of them who signed this peace quilt. It's in our conference room if you're ever here, and when we open back up, you're welcome to take a look at it. It's a reminder of the good that we can do, of the good that we can do in our own worlds, in our own way. It doesn't mean we have to be someone big personality as Desmond Tutu was, but in our own worlds. Do what our guidance is telling us to do. Show up as we're being asked to show up. Desmond Tutu said this: hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. There is light. We've had a lot of darkness in our community recently. But it doesn't mean that we have to let it consume us. Anyone who was displaced or lost their home or is challenged due to health or has gotten a challenging, difficult diagnosis, we don't have to stay in that place. We can have hope. As Tutu says, have hope, knowing that there's still light in this, that something is happening through us instead of to us. Last week I had an appointment with my oncologist. Many of you know that I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. And it will be 5 years in May. And typically, when you have a cancer diagnosis, you see an oncologist afterwards for a number of years, for the 5 years. Well, my oncologist is leaving the practice where he's working, so he released me from oncology. It's a few months early. But I felt like celebrating, being released from this thing that was hanging over my head. He didn't release me without giving me lots of warnings, lots of cautions. Take care of yourself, eat well, continue to exercise, maintain your weight. All the things that he saw as helping to prevent cancer from returning. It can be so easy when we get a diagnosis like that, or when we lose our homes, or when we are displaced and flee, run for cover, to say, why? Why me? Why did this happen to me? Why is this happening now? Where is God in all this? And the answer to the why me is, I don't know. We don't know. We may never know in this lifetime why things happen. But things happen. And where is God in all this? Where is Spirit? Where is that life? Life with a capital L is right there. Right there in the midst of it. Not causing things to happen, but being there when things happen to ground us, to help us, to see that there is love in spite of these challenges, to help us grow through these experiences, whether we label them good or bad, because we're the ones that decide whether something is good or bad, what meaning we're going to give it. If we allow ourselves to see the big picture, which is really hard when we're in the middle of something, we can see that this too wasn't meant to happen to us, but for us, for our growth. Life's a great mystery. There will be challenges. There's no question. But how do we want to show up? Who do we want to be going forward? And it doesn't take away the hurt. It doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the anger. Let yourself feel all of that. Because until you can allow that is your wholeness, you can't heal. You need to feel all of it. Whatever it is. We are fully human in our full divinity. And that means all the emotions that come with being human. But the fullness of our potential, the potential that is within each of us, is always there. We don't want to be part-time children of God. We are full-time children of God, but we only part-time, part of the time, recognize that or allow ourselves to be all that we came here to be. It doesn't mean being comfortable. It means stepping out of that comfort to be full-time children of God. Jesus didn't say, make your light shine. You can't make your light shine. You can only allow it to shine. You can only let it shine. Let it shine. That light is always there. Always there. No matter what or how hard the circumstances are that we're facing. I am filled with the Spirit of God. I am filled with the Spirit of God. Let that be your mantra. Let that power of zeal come through you. Be enthusiastic, be motivated by having a full heart, by allowing your heart and your compassion to expand. There was a little girl who was playing next to a church, and she kept going in and out of the church. Every once in a while, she'd stop her play and go into the church, come back out and start playing again. And her mother, who noticed this, asked the little girl, "Why do you keep going into the church? What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm stopping to see if God has anything to say to me." We need to pause to listen to what Spirit may be trying to say to us, to whatever that guidance is, as Joseph did, and then take action on it, as Joseph did. God might have something important to say to you in this time. Go back about 400 years in the Hebrew Scriptures, and there's a prophet named Nehemiah. And Nehemiah was really a servant. He was the cupbearer for the king of Persia. And Nehemiah had some guidance that he was to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the wall around the city. He had the blessing of the king. He told the king, "This is what I'm hearing. This is what I feel I need to do." And the king said, "Let me give you people to help you. Let me give you funds to help you. Let me give you the food." And he was very supportive. And so Nehemiah went to the city and rebuilt the walls around Jerusalem. Now, we're not talking about building walls, physical walls. In that time, in those ancient times, building the wall was to protect them from their enemies. Now, we want to look at this metaphysically. What is the meaning for us today? It's not to build walls. It's because walls will limit us. We want to look at in consciousness is more of a defense. Build up your defense against losing your peace of mind. Jerusalem represents peace, a place of peace. And so we want to defend those thoughts that will come in and try to take away our peace of mind. Nehemiah represents this ability to do just that, to build up our souls, to build up our defenses, to maintain peace. Rebuild our character. We want to live into our potential. And Nehemiah, by listening to his guidance, did that. And was filled with zeal. It says that he got the project done in 52 days, which is incredible in that time. Was it Charles Fillmore says, I fairly sizzle with zeal in getting to do those things that are mine to do. When he was, 90? Something like that. Use that power of zeal to motivate you, to have that guidance. In the book of Revelation, which is, if we look at it literally, it's a lot of doom and gloom and terrible destruction. But in the final chapter of the book of Revelation is the word come. Come. It's an invitation for us that, yes, life is going to be challenging, but come. Come and live through it. Overcome it. That's what a new year can bring for us, this ability to see the potential, an invitation to start again, if we allow it. We have to allow it. We have to give it space. There was this little funny thing going around. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know where it came from, but it's very clever, and I just want to share it with you about the new year. Good morning and welcome to Flight 2022. We are prepared to take off into the new year. Please make sure your positive attitude and gratitude are secured and locked in the upright position. All self-destruct devices, pity, anger, selfishness, pride, and resentment should be turned off at this time. All negativity, hurt, and discouragement should be put away. Should you lose your positive attitude under pressure during this flight, reach up and pull down a prayer. Prayers will automatically be activated by faith. Once your faith is activated, you can assist other passengers who are of little faith. There will be no baggage allowed on this flight. God, our captain, has cleared us for takeoff. Destination, greatness. Wishing you a new year filled with new hope, new joy, and new beginnings. Stay blessed and welcome in 2022. Such a great positive statement. Good way of looking at this new year. We have a new year in front of us. We have a blank slate, an untitled talk, a chance to start again. Next week, we'll be having our white stone ceremony where we choose a new name for ourselves and set an intention for the year. Will you make space for it? Will you allow it? Will you allow yourself to be a full-time child of God? Keep going back to that church and see if God has anything to say to you. Keep going back. What it means is to pause. Will you do that? Are you willing to pause? To listen to that guidance for this new year, to live into your potential. It's up to each of us to dethrone Herod and allow the new awareness of our divine self to flourish. Are you up for that challenge? I want to leave you with just half of Amanda Gorman's poem that she wrote called New Year's Day Lyric. It's such a beautiful poem she wrote. It's meant to honor the hardships so many endured during 2021 and also look to the potential 2022 brings. I don't have it for the screen, but we'll list the whole poem in this update on Thursday. May this be the day we come together. Mourning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. Steadily, we vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it to leave the unknown and take the first steps. So let us not return what was normal, but return towards what is next. What is next for each of us? It's up to us to decide that. How we want to be, who we want to be, and how we want 2022 to be a year of new beginnings and new potential for each one of us. Happy New Year. I'm going to invite the Larson family back up for some more wonderfully inspiring, beautiful music.